I suppose the output is that MDB as a token has much greater upside potential than it does downside risk, right? It has downside risk like anything in like anything full stop really, but more so in DeFi. But the upside potential is much higher. And to explain that very simply, the idea is that you reduce the number of tokens in circulation, it's inflationary, you can't mint supply, and you increase the funds in the protocol. So if I go back 6 months, almost to the day plus a week, we launched with a 1.5 million fund, 300k in liquidity. Today we have about $1 million in liquidity, give or take a bit, and we have a fund of about 2.3 million. Albeit we also have a second fund now, Infinity, which is about 1.2, 1.3 million in itself. So organically, the funds within the protocol, from the protocol, despite extremely challenging conditions, have increased sort of 60%. Non-organically, i.e., if you add the Infinity Fund, which is obviously from a raise, then the funds within the protocol have sort of grown exponentially, and that's no different, to how a business would operate. And the system doesn't stop there. So you've got this sort of mechanism that we call capital synergy, but then you're incentivized to sort of, like, I say lock up, it's very much a soft lock. You can put your tokens into a staking pool, then you've got no impairment loss. It's single staking. You'll pay a fee if you leave within 30 days, but no fees, and it will compound forever if you leave it in there. We've got nearly, I think, 70% of our supply, something ridiculous, is locked up in, or maybe 60% of the supply is locked up in the single staking pool. And then you've got the farm, and the farm pays really high APY. It has a high barrier to entry, but that protects the APY. That's what keeps it high. And the farm, again, you just pay your MDB with BNB, and you receive rewards, but all of the rewards are sustainable. There's no emissions in our system. There's no minting of tokens. There's nothing hidden under the drawer. Any tokens you receive can only come from the decrease in supply that the protocol has within it, and that's the system that's designed. We do a million other things as well. We could go on all day. We've got stable backed assets, which help to drive the inherent value of both of our tokens, because we've paired more with MDB Plus today. We moved another 10% of our LP across from BNB to MDB Plus. So we've got these other mechanisms as well. We are between the pools. We then have B2B services, so we rescue projects. We've done it 9 times so far, and we have many more in the pipeline, which drives a lot of volume through the protocol. We also provide sort of a full design to mint service or NFTs. We just did a 1.5 million mint with EMP. So there's lots going on around that system, albeit that system actually is extremely sustainable, and ultimately it has almost like a defined endpoint in the end. When you have very few tokens and the funds continue to increase, then you get an exponential impact in terms of the price potential. But then we've got this revenue and volume generating tools that sit around it as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys have a very extensive ecosystem that, it's a true ecosystem, right? We hear that term being thrown out a lot, like a bunch of other terms in crypto, as far as like ecosystem. But this is something where you can actually see everything working symbiotically, and it all kind of complements each other. So, that's it. And it's a lot to take in. You got a lot of stuff and you got a lot of moving pieces, but it's been really well. Now, before we get into the Xenia update, I always like to beat you up with this question, but I'm gonna dude, what did I tell you, Danny? I said every single time we talk, I'm gonna add it one level further. I'm gonna add the question one level further. All right. So for anybody that doesn't know the question about that, so I always kind of allude to Danny, like what are they doing as far as taking MDB beyond what they have now with their currencies they have with MDB Plus, Phoenix, Infinity, MDB, the token, all that stuff, right? What are they doing to really bridge the gap to the real business world, like they're kind of talking about, and take it more than just a DeFi project to kind of just get that next level? Well, I think the question I kind of have today to kind of add to my promise to you is, we see MDB like, we always love talking about how the price is just weathered this bear market. I mean, it's been very, very impressive. I just did the math net. So if you take into account the sales tax, I'm still 4.7x my money that I initially put in at the pre-sale. And that's great, right? You don't really see that. So while it's great to have this ecosystem really focused around price appreciation, the long-term blue chip stuff we see in crypto, while it's great that they may have a good price, they're really focused on, like like I usually ask, like the business aspect of that, and then the price is just, you know, noise to them in comparison to what they really want to do, right? Like Ethereum, you never really hear, Vitalik be like, "Oh my gosh, Ethereum is down today." You know what I mean? They don't really talk about that. Polygon, all these people, they don't really, when they're talking about their coin, it's like, it's whatever. We're really just working on this. So, do you have these in plans where it's like you have already that kind of this system set in place to really help your token as far as the appreciation asset goes? So we don't really have to worry about the appreciating anymore because we know that over a long period of time, mathematically, it's going to be okay. Um, do you have that tunnel vision where now you're just super focused on that business aspect? And if so, is there anything that you could really tell us today?
Well, yeah, we do. I've always mixed feelings about this question, as you know, Austin, because I think,
Yeah.
if I'm brutally honest, I think this question is like this. It's a cliche question in the industry, not from you, right, but generally speaking. And I've had an interesting discussion with someone in the Discord in the last couple of days. If I'm brutally honest, most people asking the question don't know the first thing about running a business, the risks involved, right? How does
Yeah.
a business work? Yeah. I get a load of money, I hire some people, I spend that money, and I hope that I'm going to bring some money in. If I don't bring any orders in, I've got a load of salaries, I've got a load of overheads, and the game is over, right? It doesn't matter. Somebody was saying about a copper mine. It doesn't matter. If someone synthesizes copper, your copper is worth shit now, right? All the kit you've bought, all the people you've hired, you're finished. Now, the other way of doing it, which is the playbook within crypto, and I'm going to get on my soapbox slightly, is I'm going to go and sell a story to them VCs. I'm going to get them bad boys to give me 10 million. And I'm going to start throwing that money around with a story behind it, like I'm going to build the next big thing. Now, those VCs expect to lose 8.5 times out of 10 investments, and they expect 1.5. Well, actually, that's not strictly true. Typically, what a VC is going to expect is probably 7 of them lose, 2 of them do okay, and 1's a moonshot, right? That would be a good outcome for them. 1 is really successful, 2 is okay, 7 fail. Yeah. So I'm sorry, when you're investing in a business that talks about this future real world use case that isn't generating revenue and all their money is VC raised, you're buying into a 70% failure rate at that point. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
MDB doesn't need new revenue to grow. It doesn't. We don't have to. If we really wanted to, our system is designed around capital synergy. The idea of capital synergy is that you use this capital to eat its own shares over time. If you own MDB, you own a token within the ecosystem, and and if there's more funds and less tokens, then every token that's left is better backed, right? And that becomes exponential. So if you halve the supply and you double the funds, right, then you have a 4x in terms of what that range looks like. The absolute floor, and the potential is infinite, right? But the absolute floor is a 4x. You halve it again, you times 2 the funds again, you're now 16x, right? So those are the mathematics in the protocol. And the reason I get emotional about this, to be honest, is because I come from the real business world. I would struggle to build a business in the real business world that was anywhere near as sustainable as MDB. It'd be almost impossible. Even if I go and get someone to give me 15 million and I'm going to go swing my piece around for maybe 6 months, and then they start asking for results, and then the game's going to be up and it will go to zero like everything else. MDB cannot go to zero. Unless BUSD dies or Binance dies, MDB cannot go to zero. It's mathematically impossible. We run a lean organization. So to answer more maybe constructively and positively, we do have a number of different facets, and actually we can still see many opportunities within the industry, right? Like NFTX is a perfect example, and we always try and leverage these opportunities actually to deliver exposure and marketing much more efficiently than the traditional way, because that's ridiculous as well. It's ridiculously poor value. But we do have a concept that we've been developing for some time. But what I don't want to do is predicate the future of MDB based on that, because that has more risk than MDB itself. If you take $1 million and you build a SaaS business built on Web3, if you don't get any revenue in 12 months, you're done. You're finito.
Yeah. Yeah, and then no revenue in 12 months in DeFi. That's, I mean, you probably won't even make the 12-month mark.
But we don't need revenue. MDB doesn't need revenue. If everybody sold now, like everybody, I would be devastated for the people who lost money along the way. But at the end of that process, I would be sipping a margarita on a beach in the Bahamas because I would be the last holder. And $3.4 million would be mine. I don't want that to happen. I want us to go on this journey, but they're the mathematics of our protocol. And I appreciate it's an industry where we've heard the story a million times, but we'll talk about it again in 12 months. We'll talk about it again in 5 years. I'll keep having this conversation. And every time we talk about it, our aim is to have more funds in the protocol and less supply. So every single token that's owned has better backing. Mathematically speaking, if our price dropped to 0.007, it would be, mathematically speaking, the same as getting in at pre-sale with MDB, because there's 160 million less tokens in supply and the funds are 60% bigger than they were on the day that we kicked it all off.
Yeah. And dude, honestly, I really love like the answers to everything. Like when I try to add it, like the passion in your voice, dude, that's what I thrive on, like I freaking, dude,
I hope I don't sound like a car salesman. I had the copper mine conversation yesterday, and it's like, unless you're digging actual material, that's ridiculous. Something like 15% of the UK economy is financial services. Don't tell me you have to dig something out of the ground. What you need to do is to be able to add value to people. That is a business, right? And yeah, we are completely sustainable. And how many projects have come and gone in the last 6 months, Austin? Since we spoke really early as well, didn't we? I feel like
let me look at my portfolio and I'll tell you.
You're like my DeFi brother, not like Alex who come along, jumped on it because it looked good. Sorry, Alex, I'm just putting your leg here, mate. But you were like in really early with us. I tell you what, if we looked at every single project that's come and gone in the last 8 months, I think half of them we would have even forgotten. We'd be reminding ourselves.
Yeah, man. And when it comes to just these projects trying to do these real world applications, you just, like you said, you're going into an industry that the odds are already against you versus something new like DeFi and crypto in general. That's why I'm so passionate about it. There's so much upside in this space. Like we're so new. It's like, if you want to compare this to just investing, you're getting in early and you have all that upside versus if you buy an established blue chip, something, whatever, XYZ, you're kind of getting in already at that upside potential because it's so established. That's what the traditional world is. So, dude, I love always hearing your answers to my question and picking at you because, dude, I love it, man. I like working.
Our system is solid. The market has been worse for us, actually. Like the market has had more negative impact on our protocol. Our funds would probably be much higher, right? We've seen depreciation on like really central farms like B&B Cake. Almost it's been very difficult not to lose money in this industry as it is, and we've still achieved what we've achieved. So I think it shocks me, and I don't think give anyone any ideas that nobody hasn't just forked MDB with a really small sum of money, stuck it in a farm with limited circulating supply, and then just let it grow, because the system is like it's actually insanely simple, right? I think where it doesn't work is that if I take our system, I step back and I go, right, I'm going to raise 1.8 million. I'm going to take 500k for marketing. I'm going to take 200k for development. I'm then going to mismanage the funds, or I'm going to give into community pressure and tip the funds into the protocol when the price is high, because it doesn't make me feel good when the chart isn't up, and it doesn't make me feel good when the chart isn't up. But at the same time, I've got to trust the maths that are in there. It's what we do is like incredibly simple.
Yeah, and I remember Enrique EAM Crypto, when we were talking on our podcast a couple weeks ago, he was even talking about MDB, where you all are in the Binance ecosystem. If BNB recovers, which I think we can all agree BNB is going to recover whenever the bull market happens, or as it's recovering. I mean, he says he could even see anywhere between like a $3,000 BNB, right? Like we don't know. I'm not going to give that prediction because I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to BNB, but I do know that BNB is realistically going to go up way higher than what it is right now. And if that's the case, I mean, MDB, that's just going to kind of indirectly take it too. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. Now, I was kind of just wanting to have this cool little conversation to let the audience build up before we get into the meat and potatoes of Xenia. All I ask of you all is if you would like to, so that way everybody can really be aware of the updates we're about to talk about, is if you can just like this AMA and then retweet it so we can get it out to as many people as possible. That would be absolutely amazing. And then we'll just get right into it, Danny. So if you kind of want to talk about what is the Xenia updates that we're going to be seeing on MDB and how's that going to impact the investors?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, and I suppose Xenia, what it is today. So Xenia is the Greek goddess of giving. It's the name of our DApp effectively, and it's where we have two tokens in the ecosystem, two traditional tokens, I suppose, that run on sort of LP AMM sort of system. One of them is Infinity, which is fairly young, but hyper deflationary, low tax is quite volatile, and then we have MDB, which is like Alice put together a good white paper actually, and it shows how MDB is like the flagship token within the ecosystem. It's quite high taxes, but it's also backed by a significant fund. So those funds act as both an insurance policy and an engine. Question would be, well, what happens when those funds run out? Well, the idea of MDB is that if the price is very low, then you can use interest from those funds to burn a large proportion of supply, actually increasing the backing of the token over time because you protect the principal funds. And so you'll see the two tokens on there. You'll then see a couple of stable backed assets. One's a very steady Eddie, MDB Plus, which now 50% of our liquidity actually for MDB is paired with MDB Plus. You'll see Phoenix Plus, which Infinity is paired with Phoenix Plus, and they're both ever appreciating stable backed assets. So they're basically BUSD wrapped in a smart contract. So it's 100% safe. BUSD, you can actually see it on BSC scan. So the only risk we have is BUSD depegging. You can't, even as a team, we can't take that BUSD out of the contract. The only way it can come out is by you redeeming the native token for it, and it will only ever increase in value. Phoenix Plus is a little bit different because of the buy and sell taxes. But the point is, you can buy and sell all four of those tokens on there. You can then stake Infinity, you can stake MDB, staked Infinity earns MDB, staked MDB earns MDB, and you can farm MDB, as I mentioned. Now, the big changes. So we've got, I'd say 3 big changes, but there's a little bit of a surprise I've got, actually. I've been saving it just for your spaces, actually, Austin.
Let's go. Let's do it.
So the 3 things that people know about, and about obviously because you were there, Austin, from last week, are so number 1 change will be, so the way Phoenix Plus works is that it has a 2% buy sell tax, but you can be cashed out of it. You can't access your funds, but we can press a button which randomly picks wallets and it kicks them out into MDB Plus. The APY is very high. It's typically, I think at the moment it's probably about 90% or something. So it appreciates very quickly, but you do pay a bit of tax to go in. And if you get picked off by that sort of randomizer, then it will kick you out. The idea is that you've got about a 1 in 20 chance of being kicked out, but you do get about 48-hour grace period when you go in there as well. So really, you've got 2 days being left off, and then from that point, you've got about a 1 in 20 chance of being cashed out. It's probably a little bit. It's a little bit better than that, I'll say. Recently, it's maybe 1 in 25, 1 in 30. But anyway, so now I would say the problem with that is that when you're cashed out, you can then put yourself back into Phoenix Plus, and the challenge there is that if you're like me, you know the most efficient way is just to put it straight back in, start getting the APY again. It's what's best for the protocol, but you leave it a few days, you just leave it all together. You can't be asked. You want to set it and forget it, right? So the change will be that you'll have a setting on MDB Plus where you can set a threshold, and anything above that threshold will be auto-routed. So you're going to give Xenia permission to do this for you, and it will auto-route MDB Plus back into Phoenix Plus for you. So you can buy Phoenix Plus, you can set it, you can forget it. If you get Infernoed out of it and you're above your MDB Plus threshold, then it's just going to ping you back into Phoenix Plus. So you should be able to come along at any point and just check your Phoenix Plus value, and maybe you've been in there 3 months and you'll be able to see, what is my Phoenix Plus worth today? Is 100% backed by BUSD at all times, plus $1, There's no jiggery pokery, no algorithmic yada yada witchcraft and all that stuff. Your cash is fully backed and locked in the contract, and you just be able to set it and forget it and come back. And if you're really, really lucky, obviously your gains are going to just be like crazy, considering it's a stable farm effectively. Whereas if you're maybe a little bit unlucky, then maybe you only make, you know, a few percent. But you know, the worst that can happen is that I'd say you'd be extremely unlucky to lose money, and if you lost any money, it would be, you know, like a ridiculously small sort of exposure. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I had one question with that is, so is it going to be like a toggle, like I can choose to turn it on, or is it just going to be automatic?
No, you choose to turn it on. So you don't
Okay.
actually, the feature actually isn't in Phoenix Plus. The feature will be in MDB Plus. So what you'll be saying is, so say because I know you're a huge fan of MDB Plus, Austin. You know, I think it was your second favorite stable backed asset.
Well, it's now my first.
Max is a great guy, and I really feel for those guys. It's so shit, but the feature will be on MDB Plus, and so basically, say you've got $5,000 of MDB Plus in there, Austin. Basically, what you will do is you would say, look, I want to keep 1,000 always in MDB Plus. You set that threshold. And you could take your 4,000, put it into Phoenix Plus, and every time that pops out into MDB Plus, anything over 1,000 would just get kicked back. So it might be 4,300 when it pops in, and it will just get pushed back. It will also be more efficient than doing it manually at the moment, because you do have a mint function in the contract, which most normal people, right, aren't confident using. I wouldn't have been before I did this, and so it means that you'll go MDB Plus, BUSD, Phoenix Plus, rather than the BNB swap in there as well. So it would be more efficient from a fees perspective. And the benefit also is that it's going to be driving more volume through MDB Plus then. So, you know, MDB Plus APY starts to improve a bit. It's got a little bit stagnant. And Phoenix Plus APY looks fantastic. Hopefully we get more TVL, and everyone's a winner. That's the plan.
Gotcha. Okay. And with that auto feature, is it just the gas fee that people have to worry about, or is there like an additional like tax or anything, or is it just seamless, like you don't pay anything?
No, when you're cashed out, automatically the system will charge you. If you remove yourself, you get 2% tax from Phoenix Plus. Remember,
Right.
it grows much faster than MDB Plus. I don't know if you saw Jesse's video on it. You know, he was super lucky, right? He was making crazy gains. I still think today, I don't think Jesse's been picked up by the Inferno in like 6 weeks. So considering it's making like 0.2, 0.3% a day or something, and 100% stable backs, it's just insane returns. But so but if you're Infernoed, it will take a 3% tax off of you. But like I say, the probability of that happening, you know, is like 1 in 25 days. Yeah, but if there's more volume going through it, then the APY is also increasing. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, and also while we're talking about this, anybody in the audience, if you have a question, just reply to this Twitter space. If you're on your phone, it should be on the bottom right corner. You can do that, and I'll pin it so that way we can see it. If you have any other questions about these Xenia updates or anything like that. But with that being said, yeah, Danny, do you want to get into the other things that you were talking about you were wanting to drop here? And if you don't say one of them, I'm going to ask you about it. So I want to see if you say it.
Sorry. Say that again. Sorry, Austin. I got the end, but not the start. It cut out.
Oh no, you're good. The like the updates that you said you were saving for this Twitter space. You wanna get into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share the other. So the other two things, we'll have a swapper on Xenia, so you can swap between any token in the ecosystem. Now, a little known fact: you don't actually need a pair on PCS for our stable backed assets. We only have a pair because some people lose their minds if they can't look at a chart, right? So if you look at MDB Plus or Phoenix Plus, you'll see, apart from slight deviations due to arbitrage opportunities, it goes from bottom left to top right, because the two assets can only appreciate in value. That's just how they're fixed. But but the problem is the LPs are quite small, so you'll get some slippage if you try and put a lot of money through PCS. You can actually just interact directly with the contract or with the D app, which interacts with the contract. So the swapper will be using the functions in Xenia and on the contract, so it'll be really efficient as well. Very little slippage for stable backed assets. But MDB price is pumped times 2. It's a bit hot, you want to get out there, you'll be able to use the swapper on Xenia to go straight from MDB plus into, say, from MDB into MDB plus. So all of the assets on in the MDB system you'll be able to switch between. So that's update number 2. Any questions on that? 4.3?
No, honestly, that just makes it even easier, right? Because before you had to just simply, do the swapper via like sending it and then it sends it back, right? And now this kind of just streamlines the process.
Yeah. So if you wanted to sell MDB and move into MDB plus, or you wanted to get rid of your MDB plus because MDB looks, like a good entry point, then you'd have to go from MDB plus to BUSD to BNB, from BNB into MDB, right? That's whereas now you just be able to select MDB plus in, MDB out, and it will handle all of that for you.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Cool. So number 3, and this does segue to the bit of news that nobody knows, and you're going to get it first. So one of our big strategies over the next sort of 4 weeks is driving to more. One of the great successes of Xenia over the last 4 months has been the farm. It's never been below 100% APY. It's stayed for a long period over 200%. It wasn't just like this, pump clickbait sort of APY. It's sat at 220% for I think maybe 6 weeks or so. So it's been a real moneymaker for people that are in there and a great success. And I think it's kind of down in the weeds a little bit in terms of our protocol, and we need to get this, and it's sustainable, right? Because we're not minting tokens, there's no emissions. It's coming from the buy and sell taxes. And when those tokens are taken from the buy and sell taxes, 2/3 go into the fund. So you're kind of paying this big friend of yours to watch your back, and you're getting these sustainable rewards in the deflationary system. So we'll be adding an auto compounding farm for MDB BNB. Yeah, so it'll be fully auto compounding. There's only a 1% service fee, and that whole service fee will be burned every day automatically. Literally, when it happens, it's going to burn.
Oh wow!
Right, so you'll see MDB
that's going
running down.
Add a little bit of supplemental, I guess, appreciation, just a little bit, just because you're just doing that auto burn feature.
Yeah, well, burning doesn't actually change price. It changes your market cap, which
out of the circulating supply. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it increases your LP percentage, so actually it increases your floor price. So the absolute lowest price your token possibly could be is increased by burning. So 1% will just be burning MDB daily, and so it will take your rewards. It will sell half for BNB. It will pair that BNB with MDB, and it will just compound back into your farm. So that will help with volume with MDB. It will help again with the burn as well, and you won't have to. You can, if you want to move from the current farm into it, all you need to do is unstake your LP. Don't break the LP because you don't want to pay any tax of repairing it. So just unstake the LP you've already got, and you can just stake it into the new farm, and voila, you'll be auto compounded, and off you go.
Yeah, I like that. I think that was one, not really pain point, but just something I think a lot of people in the MDB community were wanting, including not really myself, because I don't do the farming. I just do the single staking, because everybody keeps hazing me that I'm not in the VIP club yet. So I'm slowly building my way up there. But because see, if I farm, I got to sell some of my MDB, and I just don't want to do that.
You can bring your new BNB, but hey, where else are you going to get a better yield on that BNB?
No, you're totally right. I like. I'm going to be in there one day. One day, I promise, I will be in. But
honestly, though, you get like 1.5% a month staking, and you get probably 8 to 10% a month in the farm. So if you've got $1,000, then you're talking about $70 a month. Your Bonks was talking the other day. He's waxing lyrical. He's he's got like an income from the farm.
Yeah, some people, man, are making absolutely bank. I see some screenshots people drop sometimes, and oh my gosh, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's been going like that. Like, it's not like, I remember the day you launched Xenia, I was in the car, I think coming back from the gym or something, and I had to go somewhere else, and I was like, bro, I gotta go home like right now, because I remember I forgot who it was. They were like, we got to get in now, because earlier you get in, the more rewards you get from just staking and stuff when people are doing that, and people were earning like insanely high returns just because it was at the beginning, that initial hype. But it's still, to this day, you've been what? It was September, I think, when you did Xenia. September, October, November, like a little. Was it September?
I think it was like June.
Really?
Sure
It's been that long? Wow, man. Time flies. Either way, it's been a decent amount of time, and it's still been providing the same decent returns in the farm. So that's something alone to be pretty impressive of. Yeah, Yabonk says here, I'm going to pin it, $20 to $30 a day in MDB. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing good. And to be fair, you'd be doing it a really cool way, because you've always got impermanent loss with the farm, which works both ways, right? It protects you if the price drops, but at the same time, you feel like you've missed out if the price of MDB pumps really hard. And by the way, anyone who's invested in BNB, you can thank me, because I knew the second we moved more LP from BNB to MDB Plus, BNB would just pump. And so, yeah, BNB's pumping hard at the moment. So you can thank me. That's why I don't trade, because literally within 30 minutes of us moving some LP across to a stable asset, it's pumping away. But
bro, it's so good.
I honestly, anyway, right. But the farm, so you've done it the right way, actually, because you've seen all the appreciation of MDB from the start, whereas, and actually you've seen what, probably even like a times 2.5 from when Xenia was launched. And so now if you paired the BNB with it, you've now got protection for the MDB price you're at the moment, to a certain degree, and you've got at the end of that, I personally, not financial advice, I would think of it as it's 7% a month on the BNB, because that's my additional investment, and that's the difference between staking and farm.
Yeah, I'm gonna put peasant for hire on the spot here. He's one of the well-known MDB whales. I pinned it in the, I don't even know what you call this, the pin section of the Twitter Spaces, but he said you should see my farm. So we got to see your farm, peasant. You gotta drop it in the AMA. But
my farm as well, by the way. I eat where I sleep, and I genuinely, I built MDB because I wanted to build something that as somebody who I've never struggled to kind of like go out and make money in the real world, but I've always been really frustrated at the places that you can put it, right? And I've always wanted to like be in a community that isn't going to like fall off a cliff in 3 months, or the system's just going to capitulate. And that's really what I designed. So even my early days, I didn't take any salary from MDB and just accrued it on the side, because the market was crazy and stuff. And then when things obviously started to improve, I just took my salary and put it in the farm, and I'm in amongst it as well.
Yeah. And you said a good point there that I think kind of attributes to what you said at the beginning of this was, somebody could fork MDB if they really wanted to, do whatever. But I think what people really can't fork, is one, the community that you built, two, the team that you built. I highly doubt many DeFi projects the entire team would dox, just like what you all did, and, show your faces, show your real names, all that stuff.
Well, that was the choice. There was no pressure at all.
Yeah, I highly think, I don't think that would be a thing. And then the last thing is just that I think that's what's proprietary to MDB is you can't fork the months of consistency that you all have provided, as far as like, hey, we're going to do this. The day comes, you do it. I think the only time there was like slightly like, oh my gosh, what are y'all doing, is like, I think, what was it, the Infinity thing, where people were like losing their minds because it had to be pushed back like a day or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you can't fork that.
No, you can't. And it's really stressful. Like, no matter how, even like today, right? I was really pissed off with myself this morning, to be honest, because I've been umming and ahhing. I said to myself, when BNB gets to 330, we'll shift some of our. And I've been saying that for months, right? It's sort of like it's not a secret. And then over the weekend, I was umming and ahhing, spoke to our treasury guy, and we had the chat. And I could have pushed harder, and I didn't stick to the plan. So then this morning, I'm sat there, and BNB's tanking, which is then affecting your token price. I'm trying to get the kids ready to get them to nursery. I can feel that I'm getting more frustrated with them not getting dressed because actually it's the market. It's really stressful. Like you open your eyes in the morning and you turn on your phone, you look at the chart, and like as much as you say, look, it's really sustainable, blah 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 blah. You can't get away from that chart is a massive reflect. I spoke to somebody who's run a project recently, and they're running another project soon, and I said to him, like, now you've been this side of it, are you nervous? And he's like, no, that'd be fine, which I found really surprising because it's a really 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 tough place to be, and yeah, it takes a lot of discipline because your compulsion when the price goes down is just to tip a load of money in. And that's the quickest way of ruining a system like ours. It looks great short term, but then people just use it as, people just bounce with it rather than if you're a bit more prudent, then you deliver returns for people long term that are sustainable. And that's it takes a lot of personal management, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's one comment I've seen on the Twitter space I'd like to talk about before we get into the next piece. So I don't think they're actually in the audience; they were just replying, but. We talked about this, Danny, when you were on the podcast last week. We were talking about how you even admitted, right, like in an automated market maker in an AMM type of form, it operates on Ponzi-nomics, just like how a lot of things, if you break it down to the bare bones, it's a Ponzi. Like you need some type of capital to.
Yeah, stocks and shares run on AMMs.
Right,
they're
right.
linked to company, and the performance of that company, our token, whilst it's not always directly driven by the performance of the company, the two can diverge, right? Just like a share price can diverge from because it has a lot of speculation in it, right?
Exactly. And the point I was getting at last week and what I'm making now is, like, in the DeFi space, yes, at some level it's all Ponzi, but the thing that I personally differentiate, like a decent project versus something that is just, when I say it's a Ponzi and it's like in a negative way, because Ponzi in general, like it's just using money, right? It's using other people's money to do whatever. But with a project that is deceptive marketing Ponzi, where they say you're going to get a guaranteed return because we do XYZ, but they don't prove XYZ because really all they're doing is using other people's money to pay you. That is the type of Ponzi in this crypto and DeFi space in general that I'm very, very against, where it's like they're guaranteeing some type of return. It's just deceptive marketing using the Ponzi. But in MDB's case, they don't need other people's money indirectly to feed your returns. It's based on the AMM that they have set in place and the tokenomics they have within MDB, where it's not like, hey, they're guaranteeing 1% a day, 2% a day, X amount per year, whatever. It's
none of our returns are guaranteed. That's a big.
Exactly.
None of our returns are guaranteed. So if we got zero volume, the rewards would dry up. Everybody would sell, but then the funds backing the value of the supply would be so exponentially higher, you'd reduce so much of the circulation that perversely that would create this massive acceleration in price.
Right. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that because it's like, it's just, and it's totally subjective. It's how you all feel, but that's how I feel as far as, like, if I'm looking at a project, like, and I'm calling it a Ponzi, am I calling it a Ponzi because it's just objectively it works on some type of form of Ponzi-nomics, or is it deceptive marketing Ponzi that is promising me X amount of returns just because people are putting their money into it and I'm getting other people's money? There's no real value in exchange. So that's kind of my view. But Danny, do you want to move into the next little portion?
What was the comment, by the way? I can't see it.
It was a while back. Everybody's dropping them. Let me see where it was.
Was it something to do with Ponzonomics, right?
It was Resbing. They said, I learned, and I never said this. People like to comment. They were like, you said in one of your Twitters that DeFi is a Ponzi and you're hosting some. I said, well, we can talk on stage if you want to, but that's my stance on, like, Ponzi's and like where it is in the DeFi space and stuff?
Yeah, I think it depends on your use of it. I think a Ponzi, and by the legal definition, because it is illegal, is something that uses new money to pay old money, and that's it. Right? It doesn't have any other system in place whatsoever. Whereas an ecosystem is something, and look, you guys have heard this a million times. So you're either going to be a supporter of MDB and you get it, or you're going to think everything's a scam and it's all bullshit. And you probably won't believe me anyway. But I'll waste my energy saying it. If you're going into an ecosystem which has, it's a bit like probably the closest thing to use as an example would be a bank, right? If you looked at sort of traditional banking, you'll have retail banking, which will have its different risk reward ratios. You'll have commercial banking, investment banking. You'll have the casino, that massive sort of casino hedge fund type end of it as well. And at the end of the day, you're investing in other assets and taking a yield from those assets with different risk profiles, which is what we do, and then using those assets to deliver that value back to your shareholders. Now, we don't pay a dividend; we buy the shares back. That's what we do. So it's just like, imagine a business that never pays a dividend; it just buys up the shares. So therefore, the respective value of the remaining shares in circulation increases because the organization is growing in terms of its market capitalization. I don't mean market cap in DeFi terms. I mean in terms of like cash in the organization. So if its liquidity is growing and the number of shares to that business is decreasing, then the speculative, which is anything that is traded, has an element of speculation to it. The speculative value of that asset, i.e. the share or the token, will increase over time. That it's as simple as that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So
when our cash is going down and our supply is going up, be worried. But our supply is never going to go up, and our job, and we've delivered it so far, and we continue to aspire to continue with what we've done for the first 6 months, is to increase the cash.
Yeah. And I was even talking yesterday with a couple of my buddies about the MDB, like price, like we were just speculating like the future and stuff as far as MDB is with the price. And, everybody likes to talk about that every now and then. And, we were talking as far as like your external revenue doing exactly what you said, doing the buybacks and stuff to help with taking the tokens out of circulating supply. And it's like, that's the key piece that a lot of these inflationary projects just don't have, is they may have revenue or they may use other people's money, Ponzi, to buy back and burn their token, but they're still inflating to the absolute moon. So it doesn't even matter because their inflation rate is just like the buybacks and burns, you're just wasting cash. So it's really just not doing a whole lot versus something like you all are doing where you're at a fixed supply. You're never going to increase in supply.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not if you're from the normal business world, it makes complete sense. If you look at the market capitalization of, say, a FTSE 250 business in the UK, and then you looked at its revenues, there'll be a big gap between the two because there's a certain level of speculation. We completely accept that, so we don't say that our price can only go up, but what we're saying is that the idea is that the revenues continue to increase over time, and the number of shares in circulation decrease. So therefore, there's very basic mathematics, right? You're dividing one by the other, then it should create pressure in one direction.
Right. Well, hey Danny, let's get to the next part. Dude, I could talk about this all day. I love it, but I don't want to. I don't want to go crazy.
No, it's really difficult, right? Because I think you see, like, you come in our community, you see our price like pumps times, when we were like up at our all-time high. I'm saying to people, well, just make sure you take a bit of profit, right? Because there's always a lot of speculation in this, and I'm not going to tell people that their faces are going to melt when we've just done a 10x, right? So I think, and I appreciate if people have been in that situation, and we all have, right? And then you come back down, you think, well, and we want to avoid that. And as you know, we have kind of like this range, and we have this place where we want to be in terms of price. We're a little bit below that at the moment. So I think we've got because those targets are based on sort of like a progression of fundamentals. Then we believe that we've got more potential to go above where we are currently, just with our basic backing fundamentals. And but at the same time, we'll also be very realistic. If we 10x in a week, then absolutely take some profit, guys, or sell half and put it, use the B&B and pair it with MDB, and then start making passive income from that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, Austin. You want the alpha?
Mars said it is as easy as that. If a CEO or anybody can explain the concept in easy or short words, it is a green flag and a waving one. Yeah, man. Like I love asking like very simple questions too, not just to be very like, I guess, throw a quote unquote softball question, but sometimes when you hear these projects kind of explain their own ecosystem, they talk for an entire hour and make it sound extremely complicated. And if you can't like talk about your product, I mean, it's just basic sales 101, right? If you can't talk about your product to, a first grader and they don't understand it, I mean, it's something that probably your market base isn't going to understand as well. And it's just not going to be that profitable.
Totally. And look, I know we keep using this alpha, but I think like coming into the industry, I think this isn't just a problem with projects though. This is a problem in the industry with investors as well. Yeah. And I know you shouldn't poke your investor in the eye, but like if I start offering something that's going to consume all the capital in the world within the next 5 years, we'll get 40 million of TVL out of nowhere. So it's like on one side, I could be critical, or anyone could be critical of the project leader, but at the same time, we've also got a customer base that wants to put their money in something that looks absolutely batshit to the normal person. And people, I think, buy into the MDB story. Some of them just stay and they marry to it, and others they come in, they sit around for a few weeks and go, oh, actually, well, maybe that thing over there is going to turn $100 into $10 million for me. Off they go, wrecked, and it's done. So it's as much, I think, investor behaviour as it is the projects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think we've teased them long enough, man. You've been teasing me long enough.
We're going to get there. Right, so this has not been announced before this point. Drum roll, first time.
Hold on. I've waited this whole time for this. All right.
I thought it was going to be a Phil Collins drum roll, and it was more like
that was a terrible drum roll. Twitter,
Mexican street hustler.
Sound effects right. Yeah, this is terrible.
Funny. Right, let's get it out. So we will also be launching an auto compounding farm for MDB Plus. And I know many people in the community already own both of those assets. And it will be great for the ecosystem for the reasons that we've already mentioned. It means that auto compounding farm will also pay a 1% service fee, which will be burning MDB. And that also means that the buying of MDB Plus systematically by the auto compounding farm will also help with the APY of MDB Plus.
Dude, I think not a lot of people probably understand how great that is. So MDB Plus thrives in heavy volume, and if MDB that you're farming with has high volume, then that's a win-win scenario, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, and
awesome.
At the moment, MDB Plus is like a single staking pool itself, right? It's BUSD wrapped in a contract, right. Powered by XUSD. Give credit to those guys. I know some people try and flood us for that, even though we're very open about it. But the problem is that it is just a single stake. It's like a single staking contract that charges tax in and out, and it becomes a piggy bank, and the APY drops. So we've got a couple of things going on, but this is one of the big things. And yeah, so you'll have an auto compounding farm for MDB Plus as well as MDB BNB.
So we have a question here by Breach. They said, I pinned it here. They said, so does that mean no impermanent loss?
No, it does not. You still get impermanent loss. So if you pair like BNB with BUSD, you'll still get impermanent loss, but you also get impermanent protection, if you like. If BNB drops in value. So it's a two-way street. So MDB plus will only ever increase in value. Anybody who knows MDB knows that. Practically impossible for anything else to happen. And so if your MDB pump times 5, then you would see some impairment and loss. However, if your MDB halved in value, then you would see half of the impact as well. And you have that with BNB. I suppose the difference being is that MDB plus will always be this benchmark that's slowly appreciating, whereas say slowly appreciating, I think we could be back quite easily to seeing sort of APYs of sort of 15, 20, 25% very quickly on that. But with BNB, MDB can be up and BNB's up, and your farm position looks great when that happens, like happened in the last few days, say last week, that was happening. MDB pumped, BNB pumped, everyone was happy. But if the two drop together, like happened this morning, then your farm's taking a double hit at the same time. So one counterbalances the other. The difference being with MDB plus and MDB, you've got one thing that is always counterbalancing. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And if anybody else does have questions, please drop them. I'll pin them here so we can get them answered. Because we're dropping a lot at once here. So I definitely, please, if you have a question, I'm sure other people do as well. There's no crazy questions unless wind moon, then yeah, I'm not going to pin
that. But there'll be equal distribution to the farms as well, by the way. So the rewards are the same. We have something down the line in terms of our strategy. It's something that I can't talk about today, which is going to drive, and this is part of our strategy to become a protocol that focuses more heavily on and incentivizes people locking up their liquidity and being rewarded in a deflationary asset. And we have something even bigger down the line. But for now, the rewards, will split proportionally based on the TVL in each one of the farms. So one farm doesn't take off the other really, because if half of the people move from BNB now into MDB plus, that's okay, because the system will just work out the distribution of the rewards.
Gotcha. Now there was one thing that you talked about yesterday, I think it was, or a couple days ago. My days are blending in. About MDB trading bots. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, on how that is going to work? Because that's something, as everybody kind of knows, I'm pretty heavy playing with right now. I got a video actually coming out this week coming about a bunch. So
maybe you want to be one of our traders. What do you think? And look, I think one thing that we always try and do is try and solve a problem, and so we've been talking about this for a long time in the community actually, and we've been exploring different bots. We've got money with a few different places at the moment. We've been monitoring their performance and sort of like learning from each one of those. And long story short, so it's called MDB AI, which, by the way, I know. So I've got to say this openly. I went on Optimus website yesterday, and they have is it an Ops AI or something? So honestly, wasn't Alice came up with that. She could take the credit. If it was copied, she did it, not me. But no, in all seriousness, there's no plagiarism there. But ultimately, the way this system works is, I think when you think about, there's two issues we see with trading bots and NFTs, right? Two major issues that we see. One is being illiquid, right?
Right.
You buy it, get this ROI, and you're dependent on market forces. You can't redeem that for cash instantly. The second issue we see is that actually, as we were starting to look at these, we were like, well, from an investment point of view, we think it's best to split your strategy, because there are still risks with trading bots, right? I think there was one of the big projects that's quite well known. I won't name them. I think they saw like they performed really well, I think, for years, and they saw just this massive drop in a really short period of time recently, and it really impacted them. So I think you're kind of in a bot, and if that goes wrong, you lose your shirt, and that's and there is risk in it, right? So you add to that our own due diligence, and ultimately the way MDB AI will work is that it will be an NFT. It will be just the same, image for the NFT. It's going to be Millionaires Club only, by the way. We're doing We've been hammering out some details today. It's going to be really exciting. I think we're probably only going to have 600 NFTs to start off with, and I think we're going to give the protocol first pass to buy the first 300 of those. So it's going to be really limited, and basically there'll be a system where you have these trading pools, and then you have a liquid pot, and the liquid pot will be Phoenix Plus. Because then it means that at least that Phoenix Plus is also generating yield. So you haven't got this one pot in amongst the pots. All of the trading pots are generating yield, but then you've got just some cash sat there depreciating really versus inflation, right? So there'll be numerous pots, trading pots, and then spread across forex, gold, futures. We've got a few different options we've been exploring, and then there'll be this Phoenix Plus pot. That Phoenix Plus pot will enable you to liquidate your NFT on demand, and when you liquidate your NFT, it will charge you a tax. The system part compounds, part rewards, and when you liquidate, then that tax feeds back into the system as well. So if there was 600, let me fast forward. When we do, the big part of the project Q1 next year, if there was like $3 million worth, if $1 million worth get liquidated from the liquidation pool, then there would be $100,000 more in the trading pots for all the other NFTs still in existence. Make sense?
Got you. So with that, the actual trading, because I ask every project this when they talk about trading and stuff, are you going to be doing like weekly reports, monthly reports, anything where you're showing like the trades, the logs, the P&L, all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, I think we're going through that at the moment, but we'll do a report and we'll show how each one of the strategies is working.
Okay. And do you have any like current strategies you would like to talk about? Like, are you going to be doing scalping, swinging, like Bitcoin, Ethereum? Like, is there anything you want to share as far as like the intricacies of the trading itself?
I can't share that, and I know why you're asking the question, but I'm not the trading guy, and as you can see by my performance on BNB today, but at the moment there's three. Well, there's a couple of futures trading ones. There's trading bot. It mostly trades ETH, and then we have a futures trader, and then we have a gold trading option as well. We potentially have a forex option that we're exploring right now.
Gotcha. Okay,
but
cool.
by the way, this isn't going to deliver 1% a day, Austin.
Yeah, no. You already passed the Austin sniff test with not doing guaranteed returns. I think the last thing I would personally like to see just is as far as that is like, hey, let's show the performance and all that, like trade logs, beta testing, all that. Like, are you doing back testing, by the way, like on any of these strategies? Or
yeah, they're back tested.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, and this is one of the reasons we've been doing this, we've had our own cash deposited in some of these strategies for months now. So we also like to take a cautious approach, obviously, and right. So the way we're doing it, like I say, it's going to be Millionaires Club only. I think we're looking at probably end of the first week of December, and like I say, it's going to be super, super limited. And we'll do MDB AI full launch, not for another 90 days after that. And there will be obviously demonstrable track record. I always remember, I don't think KN's here, he's one of our whales, and he's a great guy. I always remember when we launched MDB Plus, we were like still waiting for the audit to come back, and we launched MDB Plus just to our own sort of VIPs first. And I said, look, it isn't the contract isn't audited yet. So look, if you go in at your own risk and just put in a small amount, and he just put in like, I think 25k just instantly. So I think the point I'm making is that I think the first mint is going to be super exclusive. It's going to be to our sort of like private investors group, which is open to anybody, but it's a private group, and then we will run a live proof of concept, if you like, because then it's about the UI and the smart contracts on our side and actually how we manage those pools as well. And then we'll be doing the full sort of like public launch. It won't be for another 3 months after that.
Yeah. And I think that's another really good thing I like that you just said, as far as making it very, very small, is any of these projects that claim to use trading bots, or people that use trading bots, you'll see that if you have a giant customer base using the same strategy, there's going to be heavy slippage issues that it just then makes that strategy not profitable. Like,
Mm.
I'm not, shill all the bots that I use, but some of the bots that I use, they have limits. Like, you can't, they only are allowing X amount of people, because they're still playing and seeing with, is this still going to cause a slippage issue if we allow, say, 20 more customers to use this specific bot. So that is another thing that I like, that I hear you said, where you want to actually take this the slow approach. You want to see if there is going to be any slippage problems. You want to see if it can handle this much capital and still provide decent returns. Nothing guaranteed, but decent returns. That makes sense. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Cool. Yeah,
We
thank
have
you.
a question here from the crowd. Flip flat flop. I remember, Jack. I think you were talking the other day on the AMA, so I remember that username. They have two questions. Question one, they said, following from the conversation you had with Danny, is there work or development on new material for crypto investors, or a simplified learning tool about the ecosystem of MDB?
Yes. So I have on my to-do list for this week is 10 bite-size scripts, and I will do the audio, I think, and then we'll work with our designer to clean up the content, and we'll have 10 90 seconds sort of short bites. We're also looking at, I think it was a great suggestion from somebody to maybe do some short bites around just general things within the industry. But yeah, that's what we've got sort of in the immediate pipeline.
Nice. And then the follow-up question he had, it was, any plan for an NFT that I can put capital in, allows MDB to use the funds to benefit the ecosystem, but allows me to gain passive income, which I guess you kind of talked about with the trading bot. Or is there anything else you'd want to touch on with that answer?
No, that's it. That's the that's the and we've this is a strategy we're deploying for ourselves for the protocol, right? We're just using it as a mechanism to open it up to others, and it will drive volume through our stable backed assets, and obviously we're not gonna, we, whilst we maintain and then grow our fund, our goal is to protect our principal. So we also would benefit if other people decide, you can see exponential growth on the price of the NFT, because if some of it's compounded, other people are liquidating, then maybe your NFT, just the liquidate me now value could grow, right? It could say double, even though you've earned off of it for say 9 months. Obviously, that's great for the protocol as well, because we're not going to be chucking ours back in. So it means that we also, the protocol, which is great for all of the tokens, and everybody would be sort of benefiting from that system as well.
Gotcha. Yeah. Let me see. I think I've seen another question. Oh, it was just a joke. JM says, "Can I tell my wife this when she wants to argue? They can't keep it simple." Sorry, I seen a question and I thought that was just one. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. But yeah, man, big fan of that. I'm definitely gonna, probably, just a disclaimer, I'm probably gonna personally get into that trading bot thing as well, since I'm part of the Millionaires Club. So pretty excited, man. Exciting stuff.
Oh, flexing.
Well, I have this series that I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to see how this video performs this week, as far as I'm doing trading bots and stuff. I'm using grid trading bots, algo bots, Dex, DeFi bots, like all this different stuff. And I'm going to see really what's a decent, realistic expectation for them. And I'm trying to include stuff like what you're doing as well, where it's an NFT that represents the performance of a bot as well. So this one's already being recorded, but if I do, say, like a monthly update, I'd happily add this one as well. So really interested in the bot space. I mean, everything in the space, financial industry, there's bots. I hate when people say, well, if it was this easy, why doesn't everybody do it? Everybody does do it. Like in the stock market, in crypto, there is a lot of people that use bots. They move on trends because the bots do that.
But people have to manage the bot as well, right? I think
Oh
maybe like
yeah, it's not
one of the
100%.
biggest exceptions is that you just pay this bot and then just go off for a year and come back and everything's fine. You have to actively manage it, don't you?
Yeah. You never ever think that a bot is 100% passive, because it's not. And you need to also have at least a basic general understanding of just the market, technical analysis, trends, what indicators and stuff you want to use, so that way you can kind of make sense of what the bot is doing versus just going in blind. So yeah, no, I don't think any bot is 100% passive. And if it is, I wouldn't tell anybody about it, because I would be making bank.
What you mean, you wouldn't take your 1.5% a day bot and then just release it to the world?
Yeah, I wouldn't make a project and then have other people. No. That's pretty good.
Very good. Good stuff. Thanks for having us, Austin. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Danny. Hey, everybody that's listening, make sure you go check. If you are new to any of this, go check out MDB's page. I think I can pin your page here. I don't know. I don't think I can. Nope, can't pin the page. But just go click on the profile. Go check them out if you haven't. Go to the Discord. Ask any and all questions. You can even reply to this Twitter space afterwards and just ping Danny on MDB here. Annoy him as much as you can. And yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm excited to see where we're at. And we were the first people to ever do an AMA together, and I'm looking forward to doing a one-year recap next year.
Yeah, we were, and we're gonna do. We decided, because we are doxed, and we decided that come hell or high water, we are going to do a 1-year meetup for MDB. So,
really?
Yeah, and I think it's very likely we'll do it in the US. Actually, it's very likely we'll do it.
I am there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of. I've never actually been to California, and there's a huge amount of our investors are in California. Actually, I think we've got a very international sort of group. Actually, one of the great things about Gravity is that I think the community is very eclectic. It's come from different projects. Probably half of our community started off in another project. So yeah, it's a really good mix. So there's never a great place, but I think the US is probably going to win.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just that captures most of the audience anyways. Like, you got a lot of people US, a lot of people, if it's California, still flyable, I guess, if you're across the Pacific. I don't know. But yeah, dude, hey, I'm there though. Let me know when that is. I'll freaking book some plane tickets.
Good stuff. All right. Cheers, mate.
All right. Have a good day, Danny. Have a good day, everybody in the audience. Thank you all for taking your time. And